My children promised to waste my inheritance on luxury cars, but I chose a heartbreaking sacrifice. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick, heavy. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, a relentless reminder of the chaos closing in around me. I stood in our old, creaky living room, surrounded by memories. The walls, once vibrant with laughter, echoed with whispers of what could have been. My kids were in the next room, their excited voices igniting a storm of emotions within me. They dreamed of flashy cars, of lives filled with luxury and indulgence. I could almost envision them, shiny keys dangling from their eager fingers, the smell of new leather filling their lungs. But this wasn't what I wanted for them. Their future depended on choices they weren't ready to make. Images danced in my mind, the day I lost my job, the bills piling up, our family dinners turning into quiet, anxious gatherings. My heart ached, twisted inside me. I thought of their hopeful faces, so bright, so unaware of the darkness lurking around us. They loved those shiny cars, but I loved them more. I had to make a sacrifice. A decision that would shatter their dreams. Forgive me. The clock ticked, the sound like thunder in my ears. I could feel the weight of my choices pressing down on me. How do you tell your children you'll be selling their inheritance to save our fading family? I had to do it, but would they understand? Suddenly, a crash from the kitchen broke my thoughts. I rushed in, heart racing, but it was just a shattered plate. Their laughter quickly filled the silence again. It felt so normal, yet everything felt wrong. How could I ruin this? My trembling hands clenched into fists. Even as they laughed, the tension thickened. Their faces sparkled with dreams I knew would evaporate into the air I breathed. I had one shot to save them from a choice that would change everything. But at what cost? My chest tightened. A mix of fear and determination flooded my veins. I could maybe scrape enough to keep our home, keep the love alive. And just when I thought I had it all figured out, a thought struck me like lightning. What if I didn't just sacrifice the money? What if I lost something even deeper? Would they ever forgive me? Would they look back and see me as the villain of their dreams? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The evening was dressed in shades of regret, the sun dipping low, casting gold and crimson across our familiar walls. I lingered in the doorway of the living room, heart heavy, listening to the shouts of my children as they debated the merits of one model over another. Each mention of luxurious brands felt like a knife twisting deeper. How could I explain to them that those dreams would have to be crumpled into dust? Mom, look at this. My eldest, Clara, called out, bounding into the room with a tablet in hand, her eyes alight with a fervor that tugged painfully at my heart. I found the perfect car. Can you imagine us driving this down the coast? I forced a smile, the weight of my sacrifice pressing against my chest like a cage. It's beautiful, honey. But you know, we have to be smart with our choices right now. Her enthusiasm dimmed a shade, uncertainty flickering across her features. What do you mean? I thought we could celebrate once school is over. It's all part of our plan. I nodded slowly, the words lodged in my throat. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, a knock at the door interrupted. It was Mrs. Jensen from next door, offering a plate of cookies with a warm smile. She was always so kind, her presence radiating warmth in times when the world felt indifferent. I thought you could use a little pick-me-up, she said, the smell of baked treats weaving into the air. Thank you, I managed, accepting the gift with shaky hands. Small moments like these meant a lot. They reminded me that kindness still existed amid turmoil. My children gathered around the offering, their laughter momentarily drowning out the turmoil in my heart. Maybe, just maybe, this could help soften the impending storm. As they devoured the cookies, I caught Mrs. Jensen's eye, a silent question in her gaze. She knew, as I had confided in her some of the struggles we faced. "You're doing the right thing," she whispered, as if she could sense my inner turmoil. "Sacrifices are never easy, but love shines through in difficult decisions." I nodded, trying to absorb her words, but the fear lingered like a shadow. Love, yes, but at what cost? My children were not yet ready to comprehend the bittersweet truth that surrounded their innocent dreams. That sleepless night, I lay restless, staring at the ceiling as memories flashed like film reels: birthdays celebrated with homemade cakes, the time Clara brought in a stray cat, the warmth of hugs that chased away fears. Yet, the darker moments crept in, too: the days spent poring over bills, the silence that followed my job layoff. Every pang of worry tightened its grip around my heart. Inhaling deeply, I returned to the present, the realization that selling even a part of my inheritance would plunge us into uncertainty. As I wrestled with my thoughts, a flicker of hope ignited in the pit of my stomach. What if I could find a way to show them gratitude without material wealth? The following day, I put the plan into motion. My children had always adored crafting, spending hours painting, building grandiose structures from simple materials. What if we could redirect that creativity into something meaningful? I organized a family project to build something we could all work on together, a small, returned focus on the value of togetherness. As we arranged the space outside, the air turned electric with anticipation. "What are we going to create, Mom?" Danny asked, swinging his little hands excitedly, his face beaming optimism. I took a breath, feeling hope rush through me. "We're going to build a treehouse. A place where we can all escape, away from worries." Just as a small fortress of dreams. Their eyes sparkled at the thought, momentarily glowing with excitement. It seemed they understood nothing of my intention yet, but their joy became a tether, binding us against the looming shadows of the future. But just as I felt the warmth of hope creeping in, a chilling text came through, shattering the calm. I had received an offer from an old colleague of mine, inviting me to meet regarding a new job opportunity, the kind I had long dreamed of but left behind. My heart raced, the lone decision standing before me like an immovable wall. Accepting this job could mean rekindling my dreams, but it might also pull me deeper into the chaos I wanted to escape. I gripped my phone tightly, torn between a path that could lift my family or one that might take me further from them. The children bounded in, laughter echoing like music, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. How could I shatter their innocence by showing them the desperation hidden beneath my smile? Would this new opportunity weigh heavier on my heart or offer us a lifeline? The question hung in the air, unresolved, and as I turned to meet their faces filled with joy, I was left staring into a black abyss of uncertainty. The choices loomed, and I knew I had to act soon, or the shadow of heartbreak could take forms I couldn't yet comprehend. The next morning dawned gray and heavy, the clouds hanging low like an unspoken concern. I sipped my coffee, staring at the screen of my phone, the text from my colleague still glowing with promise and dread. The possibility of a new job tugged at the edges of my dreams like a siren calling me away from the safety of familiar shores. "Mom, let's start our treehouse today." Clara's voice broke through my spiraling thoughts, her exuberance an innocent sanctuary I wanted to cling to. I managed to nod, pouring the remnants of my anxiety into the back of my mind. "Yes, today's the day." As we gathered our materials, old wood planks, leftover paint, and tools from the garage, Danny insisted on bringing his kitten, Whiskers, along. He cradled her with the tenderness of a first-time parent, and as she squirmed in his grasp, my heart warmed at how simple love could flourish in a child's world. The three of us worked side by side, laughter dancing in the air as we attempted to construct what we envisioned as a grand fortress. Clara, adorned in her mismatched paint-splattered clothes, took charge, her confident proclamations turning our task into an adventure. "If we climb to the top, we'll be able to see the whole neighborhood," she declared, her excitement easing some of my worries. But as I hammered nails into wood, my mind raced with what lay ahead. How could I navigate this potential job while maintaining the bond with my children that felt so fragile? What if success led to neglect, leaving our treehouse, our fortress, as nothing more than a memory of what once was? Our laughter soon filled the air, a sweet sound battling against my swirling thoughts, until suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my hand. A rogue nail had bitten too deep, drawing blood as the sting pierced momentarily through my resolve. Clara gasped, rushing to my side, concern written all over her young face. "Mom. Are you okay?" I forced a reassuring smile, pressing a cloth against the small wound, but her worry only expanded my guilt. "Just a minor incident," I murmured, "nothing to worry about." Something shifted in her eyes, though. The thrill of our project dimmed momentarily under the weight of my pain. And in that fleeting moment, I realized how deeply my burdens seeped into our lives. They could sense when I hurt, and it pained me to think my struggles might dim their radiant futures. As we continued to work, a shadow loomed behind a figure approaching from within the yellowing grass. It was Mrs. Jensen again, her familiar smile tempered by uncertainty. "I saw you all out here," she said softly, her voice warm yet laced with concern. "Is everything all right?" "Just a little mishap, but we're fine," I replied, trying to emanate calmness, even as my pulse quickened. She studied me, her wise eyes keenly perceptive, and I could feel the burden of my unvoiced worries almost spill from my lips. "You don't have to wear a mask around me, you know. I'm here for you," she replied, her kindness radiating in the overcast day. "Sometimes, we need a little help." Those words struck a chord, pulling me from the depths of my own turmoil. As I looked at Clara and Danny, who were immune to the heaviness of the adult world, I recognized that perhaps asking for help wasn't a sign of weakness, but rather an opportunity to weave our lives closer together. Perhaps there was still a way to hold on to our fortress and navigate the tides of change. After what felt like an eternity, the day faded into dusk, our treehouse standing lopsided but resilient against the dusk sky. My children climbed up and squealed in delight. I joined them, abandoning my weighty thoughts for the moment, settling into the rough wood with the giddy knowledge that we had created something tangibly an extraordinary adventure born of struggle and laughter, love forged through labor. However, as night drew its blanket across our world, a new storm began brewing in my heart. I could hear my phone chiming insistently from the house, calling me back toward the decisions lingering in wait, dark and unyielding. The pressing noise of reality pierced through the blissful cocoon we had built, reminding me that the choice awaited still. As I glanced back at my children, full of unblemished hope, the anguish I felt sharpened. Would I answer that call? The ramifications of my next move could reshape our lives irrevocably, and as the shadows deepened, I could almost feel the weight of impending sacrifice creeping closer, a chilling whisper that hinted this journey was far from over. Just then, Clara turned to me, eyes bright with hope and excitement mixed with the innocence that made my heart ache. "Mom, can we make a sign for our treehouse? Something that says it's ours and we built it together." A wave of rushed love crashed over me, her spirit was unyielding, her request a thread binding us to this moment. I could almost hear the ache of my dreams whispering through my heart, dreams filled with both life and loss. "Of course, sweetheart," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. But just as I reached for the paint and brush, my phone rang again, the haunting sound pulling my attention away. My heart raced painfully as I glanced toward the house, torn once more between two worlds. "Mom?" Clara's small hand clasped mine. "Are you okay?" The weight of my indecision bore heavily on my chest, and as I looked into Clara's expectant gaze, clarity faded into confusion. How would I choose? How could I move forward amidst the echoes of laughter while standing at the precipice of uncertainty? All I could muster was a gentle nod, but beneath my reassuring smile lingered a storm that could only break with the choices I was yet to make. The next day bloomed into a harsh light, the sun cutting through the clouds with unrelenting brightness that sent my thoughts racing. I stood in the kitchen, brewing coffee, the aroma attempting to mask the uncertainty that hung thick in the air like morning fog. Instead of the soothing comfort I sought, all I could taste was the bitterness of unresolved choices. "Mom, are we gonna work on the sign today?" Danny's voice echoed through the hall, bubbling with excitement. "Yeah, let's do it." I forced a smile, but my heart felt heavy with the knowledge of the call waiting for me, lingering through the night like an unwelcome guest. The thought of the job looming in my mind twisted my insides, wrenching me further away from my children's puerile enthusiasm. As we gathered our supplies for the sign project, Clara sketched ideas on a piece of paper, a crayon gripped tightly in her small hand. "I wanted to say our adventure treehouse and have a big drawing of Whiskers." she declared, her imagination weaving a tapestry of joy that I was desperately trying to share in. That sounds perfect, I replied, but her eyes were discerning. The shadows of the previous night's worries flickered across my face, and she leaned closer, demanding my attention. Mom, you promise you're okay? You can talk to me, she said softly, her innocent concern striking me harder than I expected. Each word resonated with a depth that made me pause. You don't have to smile if you don't feel like it. My insides twisted, the urge to confide in her knocking against my heart. How could I share the weight of my burdens when all I wanted was to ensure her safety and happiness? Instead, I gave an internal sigh and pulled her into an embrace, my heart aching for the vulnerability that was slowly becoming second nature in our evolving relationship. I am okay, sweetheart. Just thinking, I replied, wishing to project a soothing reality that I myself was struggling to believe. The three of us set to work, painting the sign with careless joy, and for a while, it felt as if we were united against the world. Laughter bubbled up once again as we debated the best way to paint Whisker's tail and Clara's charming insistence on splashing colors everywhere. In those moments, the worries diminished, and I found solace in the tangible love wrapped around us like a comforting quilt. But, as I dipped my brush into the paint, choosing the deepest blue for our backdrop, the ringing of my phone echoed in my mind like a ticking clock I wished to silence. The job offer beckoned me, a golden opportunity shrouded in my fears of what it might cost me: connection with my children, my happiness, my essence. How could something so promising also carry the seeds of doubt? Just as I finished painting an exaggerated swirl for Whiskers, my phone chimed again, and without thinking, I stepped aside, distancing myself from the beautiful chaos of our art. It was a message, short and crisp, yet steeped in implications. We need to talk. If you're still interested, time is running out. My heartbeat quickened as guilt, regret, and a flurry of emotions swirled uncontrollably within me. Clara's small voice broke through my haze. Are you coming back, Mom? Just a minute, honey, I replied, forcing every ounce of calmness into my tone, pushing down the anxiety clawing at my throat. With trembling fingers, I glanced at the message again, a chasm forming between what I desired and what might bring me to my knees. Clara and Danny continued working diligently, blissfully unaware that their mother teetered on the edge of a life-altering decision. My heart clenched as I witnessed them imbue life into something we created together, all while uncertainty loomed heavily over my head. Look, Mom. I want Whiskers to have rainbow stripes, Clara exclaimed, her face alight with elation. I turned back to them, reminded vividly of the resilience present in their spirits. They were drawing laughter, joy, and hope. Could I really sever the bonds that tied us to this moment? I don't know if I can decide, I murmured, lost in the paradox of what lay ahead. The weight of ambiguity gnawed at me, a predator ready to pounce at any moment. My teacher said when you have a choice, it's always best to listen to your heart, Danny piped up, looking at me earnestly. What does your heart say, Mom? His innocent wisdom unfurled a flicker of light through my chaos. I don't know just yet, I replied, my voice trembling. Everything felt so jumbled, a tangled mess of thoughts that threatened to spill over. As we finished painting, an unexpected knock interrupted our moment. It was Mrs. Jensen again, her familiar presence both welcoming and heavy with unspoken understanding. I brought cookies. And I thought perhaps you'd like to take a break? I glanced at Clara and Danny, who immediately brightened up at the prospect. Their innocent joy was contagious, and I found myself smiling, albeit begrudgingly, reinvigorated by their delight. I'd love to, I realized, the warmth of community washing over me. Mrs. Jensen's smile reassured me, a reminder that not every moment had to be navigated alone. But just as we dove into the sweet treats shared among us, another ping from my phone broke the festive atmosphere. This time, it was a video, a familiar face beaming back at me. It was a recording from my mother, a message sent weeks ago, one I had buried under the weight of fear. Her voice played back, I trust you to make the best choices for your life, no matter how hard it feels. Just remember to protect your heart. The words cut through my uncertainty, and I felt a rush of conflicting emotions. In that moment, every innate feeling of love, paranoia, elation, and fear coalesced into one single thought: what if safeguarding my heart meant sacrificing my dreams? Without thinking, I glanced back at Clara and Danny, lost in their world of sweetness and colors. And in that new wave of pain-infused clarity, I stood at a crossroads where joy and despair entwined, and as my heart raced anew, I realized I might have to confront a truth I had been dodging all along. With each bite of Mrs. Jensen's cookies, a clearer path revealed itself, one that could lead to both heartbreak and sacrifice, with irrevocable choices looming just around the corner, and that was when I felt a chip of something sharp under my palm clutching the edge of the makeshift sign. I realized what it was. A small shard from the wood, a reminder of the risks threaded into the tapestry of love and care. Suddenly, my heart raced again, recognizing that sometimes the most beautiful things come with sharp edges, and no matter what choice I made, it wouldn't be easy. As Clara turned and asked, "Mom, you're thinking about work again, aren't you?" My breath caught in my throat. Their innocent eyes now felt like mirrors, reflecting back my turmoil, the rightful longing for joy and the battle against impending heartache all encompassing me. "Can you hear my heart beating, kids?" I whispered, knowing that the cliff I stood on was teetering, and I was dangerously close to falling, but a part of me wondered maybe there was strength in that plunge. The afternoon sun cast its golden rays through the kitchen window, illuminating the specks of dust that danced lazily in the air. The smell of freshly baked cookies still lingered, but my heart felt heavy again, weighed down by the looming decisions that hung over me like a storm cloud threatening rain. Clara and Danny were buzzing with excitement, finishing touches on the sign that had become our little sanctuary, a testament to our family bond. Yet, as they painted bright colors, I felt my resolve begin to waver, pulled by the gravity of the job offer that dangled before me. "Are you really thinking about leaving?" Clara's soft voice broke through my reverie, her brow furrowed with the earnestness of a child who understood more than she let on. "No, sweetheart," I replied, my voice wavering as I forced a smile. But as my hand brushed the edge of the sign, a chill ran down my spine. A twinge of guilt nagged at me. How could I ever justify leaving my children for something uncertain? Danny's laughter rang out, momentarily distracting me from my spiraling thoughts. "Look, Mom, it's done." His excitement was palpable, and I couldn't help but step back and admire the final product, a whimsical array of colors that represented everything we cherished, almost like a shield against the unpredictability of our world. "It's perfect," I exclaimed, allowing their joy to momentarily envelop my creeping fears. But just then, a deep exhaustion settled over me, the remnants of sleepless nights clawing at my chest. "I think I need to sit down for a minute," I murmured, walking away, desperate for just a moment of solitude. I stepped outside onto the porch, the warm air wrapping around me like a tender embrace. But even out here, the shadows of my thoughts loomed large. As I leaned against the railing, I noticed Mrs. Jensen gardening next door, her eyes flickering over to meet mine. There was kindness in her gaze, the sort that felt like home. She waved, and I responded hesitantly. "Everything okay?" She called over. "Just thinking," I admitted, the vulnerability of the moment surprisingly refreshing. She nodded knowingly and continued her work, but not before offering a small smile that made me feel a fraction lighter. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Clara and Danny peering out the door, faces pressed to the screen, eyes alight with innocence. "Mom, join us," Clara called, her delight a reminder that the world didn't need to be fraught with conflicts all the time. With an internal breath of resolve, I returned inside, hoping to immerse myself in their happiness, but the phone buzzed again. A flood of anxiety surged as I pulled it from my pocket. Another message from the potential employer stared back at me, the words seemingly pulled from the screen, shouting, "We have another candidate. If you want this position, we need to finalize everything today." My stomach churned as thoughts crammed themselves into my mind, questioning everything I held dear. What was I willing to sacrifice for a successful future? "I love the colors," I heard Clara exclaim, and I forced my mind back to the moment, concentrating on the laughter that filled the room. It wasn't long before they proposed a game of charades, their enthusiasm bubbling to the surface. Laughter erupted with ridiculous interpretations and wild gestures, drowning out my concerns, if only temporarily. At one point, Clara mimicked a crab, scuttling across the floor while Danny pretended to be a pirate, his voice booming as he shouted orders that only made her laugh harder. As I watched them, it hit me their joys were untainted, unmarred by the complexities of adult choices. In that moment, hope fluttered gently in my chest, reminding me of the promise I made to be present. Yet, somewhere beneath the laughter, something bittersweet lingered. I caught Clara looking at me with those wide, trusting eyes, and it tore at my heart. Was I truly doing the best for them? As our game continued, the atmosphere brightened until another glimpse of my phone jarringly pulled me back. A news notification flashed across the screen. It was my mother's name. The headline felt like a punch to the gut: local mom takes job offer in major city, leaving children behind. A sinking feeling swallowed me whole as I clicked into the article, my heart hammering against my ribcage. It was a touch too familiar. The story detailed how a friend's mother had taken a prominent job, leaving her children in their father's care. The piece discussed the pursuit of happiness and how such choices are deemed noble in today's world. Tears blurred my vision. Was I truly becoming like her? The realization shattered my already fragile perspective. Could I really pursue what others deemed success while risking everything that truly mattered? A sudden knot deepened in my stomach as dread wrapped around it like vines, squeezing tighter as though to escape the implications of that article. Hadn't I promised myself I was different? I was not willing to be another casualty of ambition at the expense of love. Mommy. Clara's voice pulled me from my spiral, her small hands grasping at my trembling ones. You okay? You look worried. I forced a smile again, but this time it felt different, fainter, unsteady. I'm okay, love. Just thinking about how to make things better for us, I whispered, though a storm brewed within me. What if better means we're not in the same place anymore? She asked, her candor striking me. The question lingered, hanging in the air, challenging the fortress of lies I had built around myself, and tears pricked at my eyes. Can we just stay together, always? Danny chimed in, uncertainty coating his words. A shiver ran down my spine. Could I bear to shatter their peace with my chaotic aspirations? At that moment, as I contemplated how to respond, an unexpected visitor appeared on the doorstep. My sister, her face a mixture of concern and determination. I came to check on you, she declared, stepping through the doorway without waiting for an invitation. Her presence brought a warmth that instantly encouraged me, yet the weight of her arrival felt like a reckoning, forcing the reality of my choices back into focus. Did you see the news? She asked, her voice lowered. About Mom? My heart dropped. No, I breathed out, the impending weight of fate, the ties of family dragging me back into the depths of a life I had vowed to rise above. But before I could respond, I felt Clara cling tightly to my leg, sensing the tension in the air. In her innocent resolve, I found myself standing once again at the precipice of truth, where the shadows of ambition tangling with love, desperation meeting hope, and the fear of what lay ahead began to collide. Why don't we talk a little? My sister proposed, glancing from me to Clara and Danny. You're not alone in this. You never were. And just like that, the ground beneath me shifted, a sense of urgency igniting within me as I realized that perhaps standing at the edge of life's choices need not mean facing them alone. Just as I opened my mouth to speak, my phone buzzed once more, interrupting my thoughts, and this time I hesitated. What lay beyond the immediate world of our family into the uncertainty of my aspirations? My heart raced, knowing that whatever I chose next could change everything, even the laughter that echoed gently through our home. The evening air felt heavy, infused with the warmth of impending change. I had become a vessel of confusion. The weight of my sister's presence alongside questions swirling in my mind pushed me deeper into uncertainty. You're not alone in this, she had said, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that I was teetering on a fragile balance between what I desired for myself and the lives of my children. Let's sit down, my sister encouraged, guiding us to the living room. I noticed Clara's little fingers still cling to my leg, her innocent expression begging for reassurance. Behind her, Danny's face mirrored my own turmoil, a delicate line of concern crinkling his young brow. There, surrounded by the remnants of art and laughter, I wrestled with the tension throbbing in my chest. My sister's eyes bore into me, her unyielding support a lifeline that anchored my spiraling thoughts. What's going on, really? She began gently, her tone soft yet probing like a balm to my anxiety. Each word dripped with care, urging me to share the truth swirling like a tempest just beneath my surface. But how could I articulate my fears without shattering the fragile peace my children found in my presence? I hesitated, searching for the right words. I have this job offer, and it's incredibly an opportunity one never dreamed would come my way, but my voice caught as I glanced at my kids. What if that means leaving them behind? What if I become like Mom? Understanding flickered in my sister's eyes, and she joined me on the floor, her presence grounding me in a whirlwind of emotions. You're not her, she reminded me softly, you have the choice to be different. But what if different means I can't provide for them? I whispered, my voice trembling. What if chasing my dreams tears our family apart? A silence enveloped us, thick with unsaid words. I could see Clara unfurling herself, squeezing Danny's hand tightly, perhaps feeling the weight of my pain in her innocent way. Suddenly, the air felt electric, and I wondered if they could somehow sense my unsteady heart, the war waging within me threatening to spill over into their innocent lives. I understand how much you want to give them the world, my sister said finally, but you need to be true to yourself too. They'll see that. The pursuit of your own happiness is part of being a good mother. Her words struck something deep inside me, echoing in the hollow chamber of my heart, slowly unraveling the knot of guilt that had taken residence there. Isn't happiness a luxury I can't afford right now? I asked, feeling my heart clench. What if my happiness comes at their expense? Danny, wide-eyed and earnest, broke the silence. Mom, you always say you want us to be happy, right? What makes you happy? His words were so straightforward, profound in the clarity of childhood. I looked at him and Clara, their faces expectant, searching for an answer that could calm the storm growing within me. I dream of a world where you both can try everything, experience every little joy life offers, I murmured, taking a deep breath to steady myself. But what if by chasing that dream, I lose you? Mommy, Clara said softly, her voice steady for such a small person. I don't want you to leave. I want us to be together. But if the job makes you happy, I think maybe that's okay? A flicker of hope ignited within me, contrasting sharply with the fear that lingered close. How can you say that? You're just a kid. Because I love you, she replied simply, and her honesty sliced through the worry suffocating me. Love was supposed to sow comfort, yet here it felt tangled up in the very fabric of my regret. Just as clarity began to form, my phone buzzed again, sharp and insistent, grounding me back into the now. The name flashing on the screen sent a jolt through my systemy husband's. A connection I hadn't thought to reach out for in this moment of crisis. Can you give me a minute? I asked my sister, almost pleadingly. She nodded and stood, allowing this opening to unfold as I slid away for what felt like the most crucial conversation yet. The air felt cold and sterile as I answered. Hello? I managed, my heart racing faster than my thoughts could keep up. I've been meaning to talk to you, his voice came through, unexpectedly steady. There's something I really need to say about the offer. My breath caught in my throat as apprehension washed over me. What is it? I didn't want to bring this up too soon, but after reading that article today, I realized it's time we reshuffle some of our priorities. The pit of my stomach dropped, his words hung heavy, carrying the weight of decisions yet to unfold. What do you mean? I think we need to discuss what each of us really wants, how this may impact the kids, and what our family looks like, he said, his tone sincere but distant, leaving space for my own interpretations. And right then, amid the faith of small strides and the tenuous balance between dreams and love, the walls of my heart felt like they were crumbling. I thought of Clara and Danny, all that was beautiful about them, the laughter echoing within those four walls that might soon slip away if I couldn't stand firm. Can you hold on? Can we talk about this together? I asked, my voice trembling, the uncertainty piercing through the resolve I struggled to maintain. A pause lingered, stretching into an eternity before he finally responded. Of course. But we need to hurry. Someone might not be able to wait. The words hung in the air heavier than I cared to admit. Ranking through my thoughts while bearing the weight of expectations rippling through my heart, I knew this conversation might change everything. As I stepped back into the warmth of the living room, the laughter faded softly, replaced by a new tension. This pursuit of happiness seemed to be dimming alongside the very light I clung to in my children. The world outside felt suddenly quieter, every sound magnified against my dread, and I only wished I could turn back time to a moment where laughter reigned over tension, clarity ruled over despair. With one last look at the kids, smiling and innocent before me, my phone buzzed again. I stepped back, uncertain of which path would be best for all of us now. What revelation awaited me next? The cost of my choices loomed large, and I wasn't sure I could face the answers lurking just beneath the surface. The warmth of the living room was a stark contrast to the chill creeping into my heart. As I settled back onto the couch, Clara and Danny were still engaging in their innocent play, unaware of the riptide gathering strength beneath our calm surface. My sister remained nearby, her presence a reminder that I wasn't in this alone, yet the gravity of my decisions intensified, looming large over me like an impending storm. "Mommy," Danny said, breaking the silence as he leaned against me, "can you show us that dance you did when we had the party?" A flicker of laughter danced in my chest, a bittersweet reminder of simpler times. I could almost hear the echoes of laughter from that evening, the way the music filled the air with joy. I smiled softly, shaking my head at the request, both grateful for their innocence and saddened by the tension looming overhead. "Maybe later, buddy," I replied, forcing my worry to the back of my mind, but the phone in my pocket felt alive, a constant nagging reminder of the work tangled with my heart. I could sense it weighing me down, reminding me of the gravity of the choices ahead. Just then, it buzzed again, a relentless echo of urgency that demanded my attention. The name lighting up my screen felt like a ghost from my past me mentor, a woman whose belief in me had paved the way for this tempting job offer. Should I answer it? I wondered aloud, hesitating. My sister lifted her brows, sensing the turmoil ineffably entwined with my decision. "Maybe it's about your future," she replied, her voice playful while subtly encouraging. Though I saw the way her eyes held concern, I couldn't take my focus off my children, their faces radiant in the glow of playful laughter. "But you know we should focus on what you want right now," she added quietly. I took a deep breath, steadying myself against the tide of emotion swirling inside me. As I swiped to answer, the world narrowed until it was just me and the voice on the other end. "Hey," my mentor's voice filtered through like a ray of light cutting through fog. "I've been trying to reach you. Have you thought about my offer?" "I'm still processing everything," I admitted, unable to keep the uncertainty from creeping into my tone. "It's a lot. I understand. But I sense you're wrestling with the weight of it. Don't let fear overshadow opportunity." Her words hung heavily between us, urging me to confront the decisions I held at bay. "I believe you can manage both your role as a mother and your ambitions. There's a balance waiting to be discovered." Her words sparked something deep within me, yet my doubt hung like a dark cloud. I don't want to be a failure for my kids. What if I'm making the wrong choice? Every choice carries risk. But sometimes, she continued softly, the scariest steps lead to the most beautiful destinations. If this job aligns with your passion, imagine what kind of role model you can be for Clara and Danny. They need to see you thrive, even if it means redefining what that looks like. My heart quickened, the flicker of hope battling fiercely against my anxieties. What if they think I'm abandoning them? Children have an innate ability to understand. They pick up on our emotions. If you chase what fulfills you, they will see that even in chaos, there's room for dreams. Her acceptance revived a spark of ambition, yet doubt still clawed at my heart. But I don't want to lose the connection we have. I cherish every moment with them, and that's the key. Her voice was a soft echo of wisdom amidst my chaos. You won't lose them, you can inspire them. But only if you believe it. Her reassurance wrapped around me like a warm blanket, comforting yet frightening, highlighting the juxtaposition of my inner turmoil against my desire for growth. Just as my resolve began to wax, the sound of a small crash jolted me upright. Clara had knocked over a pile of toys, her innocent giggle contrasting sharply with the roaring uncertainty within me. I rushed to her side, but before I could reach her, Danny bent down to help, offering his sister a hand. "It's okay, Clara. We can make it a game." I caught the tail end of their moment, witnessing the bond they shared, and for a fleeting instant, I felt a pang of bitterness. Their innocence and laughter were a stark reminder of what I had to protect, yet also what I longed to pursue. The world around me began to blur, the weight of choices suffocating as unexpected nostalgia washed over me. When the call ended, I tucked my phone away, feeling a sense of finality crash over me. I felt my sister's eyes on me when I turned back, her expression reading my thoughts more clearly than any words. She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could, the doorbell rang, fracturing the moment into something entirely new. Who could that be? I mused aloud, apprehension prickling my skin as I walked to the door. The twist of the knob revealed a figure I never expected. Standing there, silhouetted against the fading light, was Marcus, an old friend from my past, someone my husband and I had shared countless dreams with, a shimmering reminder of who I once was before the demands of life snuffed out my aspirations. "Hey, I hope I'm not interrupting," he began, his eyes scanning the familiar yet foreign space behind me. I felt the weight of his arrival shaking the very foundations of my world, a warm beckoning through the icy uncertainty that had blanketed my heart. "Can we talk?" he said, the hope in his expression contrasting starkly with the weight of my present. In that moment, standing on the brink of enough unresolved emotions to fill a lifetime, I had no idea how this conversation would illuminate my path or darken it entirely. As the door swung open wider, so too did the world of possibilities I had thought solely belonged to my daydreams. The choices before me spiraled into sharp focus, each pulse of my heartbeat echoing the reality that change was inevitable. A sudden rush of memories overwhelmed me, washing over the years that had transformed joy into a weighty concern. As I stepped aside for Marcus to enter, the rustle of his jacket stirred up dust from the past, and I could almost hear echoes of laughter, of dreams shared and paths taken. Clara's laughter faded into the background, a fleeting reminder of a time when life was uncomplicated, before the gravity of unsettled desires gripped me tightly. "Wow, it's been a while," he said, glancing around the room with a soft smile. "You've created a real home here." "Yeah, it's different now," I replied, a slight tremor in my voice as I motioned for him to take a seat. "Life happens, I guess." He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. They held the reflection of searching, like an old friend peering into the cracks of a heart burdened with unspeakable choices. "I heard about your job offer," he said, cutting to the heart of it. "I want to know what you're thinking." That question hung in the air, more charged than an electric storm. Words danced on the tip of my tongue, but the fervor of unexpressed emotion stifled my voice. Instead, I felt the heat rising to my cheeks as I avoided his gaze, focusing instead on the framed photographs lining the wall, moments frozen in time that showed a life filled with laughter and hope. "You could make something incredible out of this opportunity," he added, his tone measured yet encouraging, a strong contrast to my inner turmoil. "You've always had that spark. You shouldn't let it go." It was uncanny how he could read me, yet how close we had once been felt like a distant memory blurred by the inexorable passage of time. "But what if pursuing that dream means letting go of what truly matters?" I finally whispered, my heart cracking open to expose the truth I had buried beneath layers of parental duty. "Life is all about choices," he replied thoughtfully, "but you must ask yourself, what dreams did you once have? Are they worth the risk?" His question echoed in the cavern of my heart, igniting the tender flames of hope and fear alike. I thought of the dreams I'd shelved, of the passion that had flickered dimly waiting for the right wind to reignite it. But like the shards of happiness I feared I'd shatter if I opted to chase that elusive more. The voices of my children filled my mind. Would they understand? Would they forgive me? In that heavy silence, the sound of play increased, evoking their innocent laughter that was rife with joyous sound, like a beautifully written chord juxtaposed against dissonance. I caught sight of Danny attempting to teach Clara how to build a tower with wedged blocks, an effort that ended with her gleeful claps and delightful squeals. They were thriving in this space of joy, yet I was marred by the haunting thought that my happiness might come at a cost. "I don't want to let my kids down. Sacrifices are part of any parent's role," Marcus said solemnly. "But remember, being happy makes you a better mother. And that happiness is what they'll learn from." His words stood like a lighthouse in the fog of my uncertainty, illuminating the path I could take. Yet, as I leaned back against the couch, the enormity of the decision ahead constrained my chest. I needed to protect my children, to keep them anchored in love while I explored the depths of what it meant to be fulfilled. With the weight of my decision squeezing the space between breaths, Marcus suddenly shifted his tone, his expression earnest. "I have something that might help you see things a bit clearer." I raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" He pulled a small notebook from his bag and opened it, a glint of enthusiasm sparking in his eyes. "When we first talked about our dreams, remember? I started keeping notes on everything we ever wanted. The company we spoke about, the goals we envisioned. I kept it all organized. Sometimes looking back can help turn chaos into clarity. I felt the flicker of nostalgia ignite inside me, but it was quickly extinguished by the daunting idea of reassessing my dreams through a prism lined with possibilities and regrets. You still have that, of course. I've always held on to it, waiting for the right moment to act. Maybe this is it for both of us. His enthusiasm ignited the dormant embers in my heart. Yet, as I moved closer to peer at the pages filled with youthful aspirations and audacious plans, a side thought nagged at the back of my mind. Was it fair to think of my potential over their stability? Let's take a look together, he suggested, sensing my hesitance. For the first time in what felt like ages, I felt the ghost of ambition flutter within me, a sign not to dismiss. But just as I began to feel a semblance of excitement, the ringing of my phone shattered the budding moment. Automatically, I glanced at the screen to see my sister's name flashing urgently, her silhouette faintly behind the frosted glass of the door she had retreated to check on her own children. "I'm sorry, can I?" I began but was halted by the intensity in Marcus' gaze, urging me to answer. Of course, he nodded, the encouraging smile not faltering as I sought out clarity. Hastily, I swiped to answer, a rush of adrenaline coursing through me like a pending storm. "What is it?" Hannah, her voice was trembling, layered with the weight of urgency. "You need to come home. It's about Mom." The ground beneath my feet seemed to shift, uncertainty twisting my stomach into knots. A new wave of fear surged, intertwining with my emotional battle. "What's happened? I don't know how to say this, but she's been admitted." "It's bad, Hannah." The room spun around me, the once comforting walls closing in with suffocating familiarity. In that moment, all thoughts of ambition and choice collapsed beneath the weight of impending dread. I stumbled back against the couch, gainsaying the influence of time, choices, and whether I could pursue happiness when faced with this heart-wrenching reality. My heart raced as an unshakable truth settled into my core. My mother was in danger, and I was about to be pulled into a storm that would force me to face not only my family's needs, but also confront what it truly meant to sacrifice for love. "On my way," I whispered, the words dissolving into a myriad of conflicted thoughts, revealing a new shade of desperation unclear against the backdrop of my fears. As I turned back towards Marcus, his hopeful expression had transformed into one of understanding, a solid reminder that the paths we carve in life often lead us to uncharted territory. With the weight of impending choices heavy in my heart and a looming unknown ahead, I took a breath, knowing I was on the verge of something immensely significant and nothing would ever be the same again. I stood at the threshold of my mother's home, the remnants of sunlight barely breaking through the aging curtains. The house felt like a shadow of itself, heavy with echoes of laughter that were now stifled, replaced by the sterile scent of antiseptic. It was an eerie parallel to the emotional landscape I was navigating, searching for clarity amidst chaos. As I stepped inside, the familiar creaks of the wooden floors brought a rush of bittersweet memories. Long afternoons spent in the embrace of childhood, where the world felt invincible and simple. Yet, the sight of my mother hooked up to a multitude of machines wrenched that feeling away, forcing a cruel reality to set in. "Hannah," her voice was weak yet carried an unmistakable warmth. I rushed to her side, the sense of duty colliding with an onslaught of fear as I took her hand. "It's okay," she croaked, though I could see the worry etched across her face, the kind that mothers wear when they fear for their children's burdens. "Mom, what happened?" I searched her fading eyes for some sign of strength, but all I found was an aching fragility. A nurse entered, her presence calming yet mechanical, explaining the details in clinical terms that felt so foreign and daunting. As she spoke, I watched my mother's face, the way her lips parted to speak, only to hesitate, letting a moment of vulnerability hang in the air. "I'm so sorry for this, for putting you through this," she finally murmured, the guilt emanating from her like a palpable force. "Mom, no, please." I squeezed her hand tighter, wishing to absorb her fears and replace them with strength. "You're my mother, and I will always be here for you. Just rest." As I pulled a chair closer, I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was a fork in the road, a reverberation of all the choices I'd been grappling with earlier. The dreams I cradled in the depths of my heart felt more self-indulgent now, obscured by the ache of familial obligation. Suddenly, the prospect of chasing those dreams seemed unfathomably selfish, a delicate dream eclipsed by my mother's fragility. After the nurse left, my mother looked at me with a mixture of love and fear that splintered my heart. "I've been so proud of you, Hannah. You've grown into such a beautiful woman, but sometimes I worry." Her voice quivered, and moisture pooled in her eyes. "What if something happens to me? What will you do? What about your life?" Her words lingered in the air, stinging with weight. "Mom, I don't care about that right now. I just want you to fight. Hannah, life is fleeting. We had our dreams, didn't we?" A fleeting smile broke through the seriousness, a nostalgic recollection of late-night talks filled with ambition and laughter. "You have to chase yours." The notion rang hollow amidst the heartache, and I saw that the dreams I had put aside now seemed even more distant, overshadowed by this looming tragedy. "But Mom, you're not allowed to leave me." "Not yet." I realized how naive those words sounded, an undercurrent revealing the depths of my reliance on her, and the suffocation of my own autonomy. I spent hours by her side, our conversation dwindling to reflections of the past, but never once did we breach the topic of my future me potential. Every time I felt the stirrings of ambition nudge at my heart, my fears kept it shackled to the ground. I needed to be there for her, and somewhere deep down, I feared that my happiness might bring her pain. Midway through our long vigil, I heard a soft knock. My sister slipped through the door, her face an intricate tapestry of worry and determination. "Hannah, Mom needs us," she said, her voice low and steady as she joined us next to the bed. "But we're so far apart these days, I feel like I'm losing you both." We wrapped our arms around each other, a collective sigh of grief that intermingled hope and despair. "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart suddenly racing with the weight of her words and the unspoken acknowledgement of distance. "We need to face this together," she said firmly, "no matter what happens. I don't want us to drift apart like these recent months. This is a wake-up call." The sincerity in her voice played a symphony of unresolved emotions. Had I been so ensconced in my own choices that I overlooked the bonds of family? As she elaborated on our mother's wishes, her desires that we reconnect, that we pursue our dreams together, I felt the walls I had erected around my heart start to tremble and crack. But then, just as a flicker of hope began to emerge, my sister's gaze faltered, betraying a depth of fear she had not yet voiced. "And if something does happen, Hannah," she hesitated, voice trembling, building up to the daunting possibility that hung heavy like dark clouds above us. "What will our lives look like then?" My heart lurched at the notion, uncertainty swirling as I fought to contain the flood of tears threatening to spill. I couldn't bear to think of a world without her, without these flawed yet precious connections woven through the fabric of love. In that charged silence, the unpredictable tempest of emotions built up inside me. The weight of my mother's illness, the crumbling ties, the dreams half remembered, all of it came to a head in a whirlwind of desperation that left me breathless. Would I have the strength to not only support my family, but also dare to dream for myself, and what would that look like? As the hours crept on, my resolve felt smaller every moment, fanning embers of fear through the claustrophobic silence. And so, as the night deepened, I found myself standing at another precipice, straddling the line between the familiar and the unknown, the dream and the reality. Then came the dreaded call, the emergency alert that shattered our fragile moment like glass. "Your mother," the nurse's voice echoed over the speaker, heavy with implication, threatening to break the delicate threads holding our family together. My heart stopped, the sharp edge of reality slicing through any semblance of peace. A new chapter awaited, one where decisions woven with love would guide me, yet every choice carried the weight of heartbreak. The emotional cliffhanger loomed, and there I was, trembling at the edge, uncertain of what awaited on the other side. The news shattered the fragile cocoon of hope that had woven itself around us. I felt like a marionette with its strings cut, helpless as I spiraled downwards into a place where words failed, where anguish seemed the only language left to express. My sister's hand gripped mine fiercely, her strength a tether in the chaos. "Hannah, we have to stay calm. We need to think clearly," she said, although the tremor in her voice betrayed her resolve. "Right," I whispered, barely able to form words. The room twisted and blurred, the sterile scent of antiseptic mingling with the sweetness of stolen memories. I could hear my mother's steady breathing. The sound had always been my anchor, but now it felt as if it threatened to pull me under. We should go to her, I stammered. Surely she needs us now. As we moved towards the door, I felt the weight of all the unanswered questions pressing against my chest, squeezing my heart until it was all I could do to breathe. The stark clinical blue of the hallway felt like a world unto itself, cold and indifferent even as it hummed with the urgency of life and death. Every footstep echoed loud enough to drown out my tangled thoughts, a reminder that I was on the precipice of something monumental. I clutched my sister's hand tighter, as if our bond could shield us from the uncertainty ahead. When we reached her room, we were greeted by the sight of our mother surrounded by machines, her frame frail beneath a thin sheet. Yet, it was her eyes, those familiar, wise eyes, that struck me the hardest. Even when facing uncertainty, she radiated a warmth that could melt the coldest fears. "Hannah, I'm sorry," she managed, her voice a pure whisper, cutting through the sterile air with a vulnerability that shattered my defenses. "I didn't mean for you to worry about me." The tears rolled down my cheeks as my voice failed me. I took a deep breath, pushing through the fog of dread. "Mom, don't say that. You're the strongest person I know. You need to fight." And she smiled a soft, bittersweet smile that tugged at the edges of my heart. "Fighting is what I've always done, but sweetheart, I want you to promise me something." There was an intensity in her gazes, the kind that bore through the layers of doubt I'd been buried under. "Anything," I replied, willing to do anything she asked. "Don't let fear hold you back. Life is too precious, too short. Chase your dreams, don't abandon them like I did." It was then I caught the lingering sadness in her eyes, the reflection of shattered dreams that I, somehow, had inherited. She leaned closer, and I felt my heart beat louder, desperate to catch every word. "You'll face crossroads, Hannah, but it's your heart that'll guide you through the darkness. Believe in your possibilities. Live your life for you, while sharing that love with Clara and Danny. They need you to be whole." Her words washed over me like a bomb, a clarion call to the waitress of my ambitions I hadn't been brave enough to answer just yet. Clarity surged through the emotional haze, and in that moment, I felt fortified by the love we had shared, by the unyielding bond that was unbreakable even in the face of despair. "I promise," I whispered, the words hanging heavily in the air between us. The nurse entered, rushing in with urgency, sensing the weight of the moment. My heart dropped again as I realized this time was slipping away, each second feeling heavy as the world outside continued to pass unyieldingly. In the following minutes, emotions spiraled. My mother held my gaze steadily as the muffled hum of machines filled the silence. I leaned in, cradling her hand in mine. "I love you, Mom," I said, a newfound urgency lacing my tone. "I need you here, I always have. I need you to be okay," she breathed, the words caught with effort, revealing the depths of her love and concern. As the reality set in, I knew this was the part where love intertwined with loss, where dreams collided with duty, and where the decision to be brave had to encompass both worlds. My sister squeezed my hand, whispering, "Together, Hannah, whatever happens, we do this together." The solidarity bound us even tighter as I absorbed the depth of my mother's resolve, the strength that would ripple through the family for generations. Just as quickly as they came, the machines around her shifted, and clarity returned to her gaseous strength I had seen all those years ago. "Promise me one last thing," she said, voice strong despite the raw edge of vulnerability. "Live your life without regrets. Your happiness is as important as the love you give to your family." I nodded, determined to embrace this promise. I could feel change rippling through my heart like a thunderstorm, gathering energy, transforming the bittersweet ache into something powerful and resolute. Suddenly, Clara and Danny burst through the door, their cheeks flushed with excitement. "Mommy!" Danny ran, coming to my side, and Clara followed, her hand reaching for our mother. In an instant, they filled the room with a warm, radiant energy that felt like home. "Can we paint something for Grandma?" Clara exclaimed. My mother's eyes lit up, and I knew, in that moment, she was re-energized by their innocent joy. "Yes, let's do that," I said, appreciating how their sheer presence dispelled the shadows clinging to our hearts. As we gathered supplies, I caught my mother's eye, both of us understanding that in this moment of uncertainty, love would guide us forward, an irreplaceable bond unfurling into the light of possibility. And just like that, amidst the laughter and brilliance of childhood dreams unfurling, it hit me like an illuminating wave: my dreams were not meant to be at odds with my family. They existed to complement the love I had for them. With every stroke of paint on the canvas, I felt the weight lift slowly, absorbing every lesson my mother had gently imparted. Perhaps happiness and sacrifice were not mutually exclusive after all, perhaps they intersected at this very point of love and connection. And as the day wore on, the clouds of uncertainty began to part, allowing a shimmering beacon of hope to shine through. In that delicate balance between love and aspiration, each stroke of color became a step forward toward healing not only for me but for all of us. In that moment, realizing that true strength came not solely from clarity but from love intertwined, I held my family close, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would navigate through those together, bound by the strongest thread of all unconditional love. As my mother smiled at me, the weight within me fragmented into shards of light, and I understood the profound truth resonating around us all. Perhaps it was never about sacrificing happiness for love or vice versa, it was about nurturing both, amidst the backdrop of life's chaos, so that our dreams could bring us closer to each other, to a future that pulsed with vibrant resilience. And at that moment, as we painted outside the lines, I knew I would create the life I envisioned for myself while holding them in my heart, all of us forever intertwined, echoing through time with our laughter, hopes, and unwavering commitment to one another. "All I want is for you to be happy, my love," my mother whispered, sealing my resolve. "Then let's paint our way to that happiness," I said with a smile, reinforcing the tapestry that would unite us through the uncertain future. And as the colors melded together into one beautiful mosaic, I felt the earth beneath my feet and an unfurling sense of courage ignite within my heart with the unwavering pulse of love, a reminder that even in the storms we face, the light will always find a way through. As the final stroke brushed against the canvas, I understood with clarity I was ready to embrace life in full, whilst holding my dreams closely, for I had finally recognized the truth in my mother's words: both my happiness and the love I shared would guide me unfailingly forward. The future beckoned with possibility, and it would be a masterpiece filled with every color of love and ambition. Together we would illuminate the way.